There comes a point on the path of understanding, not merely of philosophy, but of life itself, when the mind grows weary of endless discourse. You consume the teachings of Seneca, wrestle with the meditations of Marcus Aurelius, trace the logic of Epictetus. Yet, another quote, another dissection of virtue, another debate on indifference begins to feel hollow. You start to sense that the transformation you seek isn't found in more words, but in the quiet spaces between them, waiting for you to cease explaining and begin embodying. But here lies a profound insight, one whispered by the Stoics across centuries, often felt but rarely grasped in its full gravity. Once you truly touch a Stoic truth that reshapes your perception of existence, the stark reality of the dichotomy of control, the liberating power of assent, the deep well of resilience within, an intense urge surges within you. You want to declare it, debate it, convince the world of its potency. It feels natural, a mind seeking validation for its hard-won clarity. Yet, the ancient Stoic masters counsel a different path. Keep your mouth shut, not because the wisdom is shameful, not because it must be hidden away like a secret sin, but because some truths, when spoken prematurely, lose their vital force. Stoic principles are not fragile ornaments to be displayed. They are hardy seeds. You do not tear them from a nurturing soil the moment the first fragile sprout emerges, just to prove you planted something. You shield them from harsh winds. You allow them time to send roots deep into the bedrock of your character, time to grow strong enough to withstand the storms of opinion and circumstance. What few articulate clearly is this: speaking too soon is often the subtle voice of ego. We speak of our insights, our newfound equanimity, our grasp of virtue, because we desire to be seen as wise, acknowledged for our progress, praised for our perceived strength. But Stoic wisdom does not flourish in the shallow soil of external validation. It thrives in the fertile ground of stillness, testing, and lived experience. It demands you walk the path of your principles, not merely narrate the map. There is an inherent friction in awakening through Stoicism. You will perceive the world with different eyes. You will see others chasing externals, status, possessions, fleeting pleasures, as if they were true goods. Your ears will grow sensitive to the cacophony of complaint and blame that fills ordinary discourse. You will find yourself outgrowing environments and conversations you once clung to for acceptance. And in this necessary isolation, a profound loneliness can arise, a loneliness that tempts you to break your silence, to explain your detachment, to prove that your calm isn't indifference but hard-earned perspective. But silence is your most rigorous Stoic teacher. In silence, you cease convincing anyone. You simply live the truth you've apprehended. The power of your Stoic transformation isn't measured by the volume of your pronouncements, but by the depth of your embodiment. Keep your mouth shut, not because others are unworthy of wisdom, but because the sacred fire of your practice must be shielded until it burns steadily within you. There will come a day when you observe the world and understand how easily words are squandered, how often we dissipate our inner strength by explaining what we should be diligently mastering. You will realize that not every mind is prepared for the Stoic lens. Not everyone deserves unfiltered access to the inner workings of your citadel, not because they are malicious, but because they are still journeying on paths you've consciously abandoned. If you thrust a map to your mountain of understanding upon them prematurely, they may only mock your climb. They haven't yet earned the necessary perspective, the resilience for such altitudes, and it is not your duty to lift them with rhetoric. You are not here to convert. You are here to evolve. True Stoic evolution is often silent. It happens in the unobserved moments when you choose disciplined judgment over impulsive reaction, when you walk away from needless drama instead of engaging its chaos, when you sit with discomfort or pain without demanding its immediate removal. These are the moments that forge unshakable character. Not the moments of eloquent discourse, but the moments of decisive, principled action. So, the next time a Stoic insight resonates with undeniable clarity within you, when you feel that click of understanding about what is truly yours to control, or the liberation of releasing an unhealthy desire, when you feel that truth pressing against your lips, pause. Ask yourself this crucial Stoic question: is this of the world to hear, or is this of me to live first? Almost always, the answer is the latter. You owe yourself the indispensable gift of integration. Let the Stoic principle change you fundamentally before you attempt to let it change others. Because when it is real, when it is woven into the very fabric of your being, you won't need to explain it. Your presence, your calm amidst chaos, your resilience in adversity, your focus on action within your sphere will speak with a clarity words can never match. This is how you cultivate true power, an inner fortress untouched by external turbulence. You cease leaking your nascent growth through unnecessary speech. You stop narrating your transformation like an unfinished story. Instead, you live as if the principles are already the bedrock of your existence. The secret: once you know this Stoic truth, keep your mouth shut. There is a quiet, implacable law understood by the deepest practitioners of Stoicism, rarely spoken because it cannot be adequately explained. It must be lived through disciplined practice. That law is this: when you articulate profound Stoic wisdom too early, it's not that the wisdom itself is fragile, but your connection to it remains tenuous. When you first grasp the core tenet, that your power lies solely in your judgments, choices, and actions, while externals are indifferent, it feels revolutionary. It cuts through confusion, reframes suffering, offers profound liberation. The urge to share this key, to illuminate the path for others, becomes overwhelming. But here is a Stoic discipline rarely emphasized. Not all understanding should be voiced immediately. Truth, especially Stoic truth concerning virtue, vice, and indifference, possesses a potent, refining fire. Untrained hands, still learning its nature, can be burned and can inadvertently burn others. The initial realization is never the culmination. It is the threshold of a deeper, lifelong practice. Speaking prematurely about your fledgling insight is like pouring precious, life-giving water into a vessel full of cracks. It leaks away, wasted. Your words carry the energy of conviction, but they also carry a profound responsibility. When you speak of Stoic principles you haven't fully integrated into your daily conduct, speaking of perfect equanimity while still easily angered, preaching indifference to fortune while deeply attached to outcomes, is like drawing a detailed map of land you've only glimpsed from a distance. The landmarks will be misplaced, the terrain misrepresented. Those who attempt to follow such a map will inevitably become lost and disillusioned. The discipline of silence following a Stoic realization is not a form of punishment. It is essential protection. Protection for you, to grant your mind and body the necessary time to align your habits, reactions, and choices with what your reason now understands. Until your daily actions consistently reflect your Stoic insight, showing patience where there was irritation, courage where there was fear, justice where there was self-interest, the insight remains intellectual, not existential. Thoughts, especially profound ones, are delicate. They are shaped not only by our inner grasp, but also by the world's response. Sharing a powerful Stoic insight with someone unprepared is not generosity, it is a risk. You place your vulnerable, budding growth before someone who cannot comprehend its weight or its demands. They may doubt it, ridicule its perceived coldness, dismiss it as impractical idealism. And if your foundation in the practice is not yet solid, their rejection or misunderstanding can shake your nascent conviction, unraveling that moment of clarity. In this way, the ego often disguises itself as noble intent. I must share this liberating truth, it proclaims. But the Stoic sage does not rush to lecture. They let the quality of their life become the first, most potent lesson. True mastery needs no fanfare. The oak does not shout when it grows strong. It simply stands, weathering storms with silent resilience. Those destined to benefit from its strength and shade will find their way to it naturally. Similarly, your Stoic growth will become evident in time. In your unwavering composure under pressure, your consistent act of kindness without expectation of reward, your quiet acceptance of what cannot be changed. This embodied presence communicates more profoundly than any treatise. Protection for the wisdom, to allow the principle to embed itself deeply into your character, transforming from abstract idea to live reality. A principle only becomes real when it governs your behavior instinctively. Silence provides a sanctuary for this deep rooting to occur. It is crucial to understand this harsh reality. Some individuals unconsciously draw validation from the perceived instability of others to reinforce their own comfort in complacency. If you voice your fledgling Stoic realizations, your detachment from common anxieties, your focus on virtue over externals. In the presence of those deeply invested in the status quo of blame, victimhood, or material pursuit, they may subtly or overtly try to pull you back, not necessarily from malice, but from a place of fear. Your growth is a silent rebuke to their stagnation. Your clarity highlights their confusion. They may challenge your perspective, not because it is flawed, but because they desperately need it not to be right. And if your roots in Stoic practice are shallow, their skepticism or mockery can make you waver. This is precisely why silence must be your initial shield, not eternal silence, but silence long enough for your understanding to harden into unassailable inner strength. Speak only once your grasp of the principle no longer requires agreement to stand firm. Share only when your Stoic truth cannot be shaken by misunderstanding or rejection. That is, when you are no longer trying to convince. You are simply revealing what has become an undeniable part of your being. There is another profound layer to this discipline. By withholding the verbal expression of your insights, you allow them to work on you more intensely. They begin silently to reshape your behavior in countless subtle ways. How you start your day with intentionality, how you truly listen without immediately formulating a response, how you calmly disengage from futile arguments or toxic situations. These are the authentic marks of Stoic transformation. They make no fanfare, seek no spotlight, yet they are unmistakable. Those around you will sense the shift, a new gravity, a palpable calm, a focused presence. This is the energy of someone who has grasped a powerful Stoic truth and held it sacredly within long enough to become it. So, the next time a Stoic principle resonates with undeniable force within you, resist the instinct to immediately explain or declare it. Let your disciplined stillness hold it. Let your purposeful silence nurture it. Let your consistent actions reflect it. And in time, when the seed has grown into a sturdy tree, deeply rooted in virtue and resilience, you'll find that you often don't need to speak at all. People will be drawn to your presence, not primarily for your words, but for your unmistakable way of being. And when you do choose to speak, they will listen. Not because you're loud or insistent, but because your prior silence has cultivated a genuine curiosity and respect. That is the essence of true Stoic power. That is what it means to know the core truth, and to know, with disciplined wisdom, when to say nothing. A painful but necessary Stoic truth awaits those who walk this path. Not everyone possesses the readiness, the eyes, or the heart to receive what your practice has revealed. When the liberating clarity of Stoicism dawns upon you, the understanding that your well-being is self-determined, that externals hold no inherent power over your peace, it feels like an invaluable gift. The profound mistake, however, is assuming this gift will be welcomed with open arms by all others. It will not, especially not by those who haven't sought it, especially not by those still deeply invested in the very mindset Stoicism helps you transcend. The belief that happiness lies in controlling the uncontrollable, that blame is fruitful, that externals define worth. The nature of Stoic truth is inherently disruptive. It challenges comfortable illusions. It shines the uncompromising light of reason into corners many prefer to keep shadowed. Corners filled with excuses, irrational fears, and misplaced desires. It demands rigorous self-honesty and responsibility, an invitation to change that many find profoundly uncomfortable, even threatening. Therefore, when you bring the unvarnished light of Stoic principle to those unprepared, it will not be met with gratitude. It will be met with resistance, rejection, and sometimes hostility. Imagine entering a dimly lit room where people have dwelled comfortably for years, their vision adjusted to gloom, their sense of security dependent on not examining things too closely. Then you arrive, wide-eyed from the sunlight of understanding, and instinctively shine a bright flashlight, your insight, around. You believe you are offering liberation, sharing clarity, but to them, you are a disturbance, even a threat. Not because your light is false, but because it violently disrupts the familiar, unexamined world they have constructed. It forces awareness they may not want. In life, and especially in conveying Stoic wisdom, timing is paramount. Truth delivered when the recipient is not receptive, not seeking, is often as ineffective or even as damaging as a falsehood. This is why Stoicism demands profound patience. When you grasp a deep, transformative truth about human nature, virtue, or the nature of the cosmos, logos, your primary task is not to become an evangelist. Your task is to internalize that truth, to live it with unwavering consistency. Let your life become the most compelling evidence of the principles you've learned. If someone isn't actively seeking understanding, isn't grappling with their own dissatisfaction in a way that opens them to new perspectives, your words will register as noise at best and arrogant judgment at worst. This discipline becomes acutely challenging when the people you care for deeply are among those seemingly asleep in illusion Stoicism dispels. You long for them to awaken, to experience the same liberation from unnecessary suffering, to see the world with clearer eyes. But genuine transformation cannot be imposed. It must be chosen and walked through step by step. It cannot be handed over like an object. It must be earned through personal struggle and application. A butterfly cannot make a caterpillar transform. It can only embody the potential. Flying is living proof of the metamorphosis. Sharing deep Stoic insights indiscriminately is like casting seeds onto hardened concrete. No matter how potent the seed of wisdom, it cannot germinate and grow where there is no receptive soil, no openness, no willingness to be broken open for new growth. If you insist on scattering seeds where they cannot possibly take root, you exhaust your own spirit and risk feeling profoundly unseen, unheard, or even betrayed. The resulting pain stems not from the truth being false, but from misjudging the readiness of the recipient. There is also a subtle arrogance embedded in the belief that it is your personal duty to awaken others. It is not. Awakening, in the Stoic sense of embracing reason and virtue, is an intensely personal journey. No matter how eloquently you speak, no matter how logically sound your insight, it cannot penetrate a mind that is firmly closed, that clings to preferred narratives and external dependencies. You may fervently wish to shake people, to vividly illustrate how much freer, stronger, and more peaceful their lives could be. But until they are ready to listen, not merely with their ears, but with their spirit, with a genuine hunger for something beyond their current state, your words will fall uselessly to ground, or worse, be twisted into reasons to dismiss you further. This is why silence becomes wisdom's most steadfast ally in the Stoic journey. When you consciously choose silence, you are not abandoning truth. You are honoring its sanctity and power. You are declaring, this understanding is sacred ground. It is not trivial entertainment, nor fodder for casual debate. It is a key forged in the fire of personal struggle, unlocking doors to inner freedom, and I will not carelessly hand it to someone who still chooses, consciously or not, to remain locked within their self-constructed prison. Let your example be the only necessary invitation. Let the unwavering quality of your life, your evident peace amidst turmoil, your resilience in the face of loss, your consistent integrity, generate organic curiosity. Let your inner stability create a silent contrast to chaos others may inhabit, not through preaching, but simply through being. People are not ultimately moved by words alone. They are moved by energy, by presence, by the undeniable evidence of a life well lived according to principle. If you have genuinely integrated a powerful Stoic truth, it will inevitably reshape your posture, your choices, your priorities, the very aura you project. Others will notice, even if they say nothing initially. And when the time is right, when they are finally ready, when some internal shift creates an opening, they will ask. And when someone asks from that place of genuine openness, from a felt need for change, then and only then is the door truly ready to be unlocked. This is how genuine Stoic influence spreads. Not through forceful proselytizing, but through silent resonance. You live your truth so fully, so authentically, so quietly, that it radiates an undeniable magnetism. Those whose nature and readiness align with the path will feel the pull. They will come, not to argue semantics, but to learn, to understand, to seek guidance. Until that moment arrives, guard your inner treasure. Hold your understanding close within the quiet sanctuary of your disciplined mind. Let it mature within you. Let it deepen your roots. Let it transform your actions completely before you ever feel compelled to speak of it extensively. The world may not be ready. You must be. For if you attempt to convince others before your own Stoic foundation is unshakably strong, before your practice is deeply embodied, you risk being pulled back into the very patterns of thought and desire you've worked so hard to transcend. and that is the insidious danger of sharing too soon. Your truth may be real, but if it's still fragile, the wrong environment, the wrong reaction can crush its tender growth. So hold it close. Let your disciplined silence be the anvil upon which your inner strength is forged. Remember the Stoic imperative. Walk your truth in quiet integrity. When they are ready, they will see you, and then they may truly hear you. A profound distinction, understood by the deepest Stoic practitioners, separates mere strength from genuine power. Strength is a capacity to act, to exert force. Power, in the Stoic sense, is the far rarer mastery of knowing precisely when not to act, when not to speak, when not to engage. This is where many falter on the path. They mistake power for loudness, dominance, or visible control. But true Stoic power, the kind that shapes destinies, builds unassailable character, and fosters enduring peace, is inherently quiet. It is composed. It does not seek the spotlight. It does not herald its arrival. When true power enters a space, it doesn't need announcement. Its grounded presence is self-evident. When you encounter someone who has genuinely walked the Stoic path, who has faced their fears, wrestled with their passions, confronted their weaknesses, and emerged tempered by reason and virtue, you perceive something subtle yet unmistakable. They do not strive to prove their worth. They listen far more than they speak. Their presence carries a natural weight, not from demands or titles, but from the authority of lived experience and hard-won self-mastery. This is restraint, the hallmark of someone who possesses inner power and has chosen to wield it with disciplined wisdom. We inhabit a world obsessed with visibility, with being heard, with collecting validation. Social media, casual conversations, even professional interactions often become performances. Everyone talks, few truly listen. Everyone shares fragments. Little emerges from profound depth. It's a sea of noise. Amidst this cacophony, those who embody genuine Stoic power are often the quietest. They understand that some truths are too potent, too deeply personal for casual consumption. They grasp that wisdom isn't a trophy for display. It is a sacred fire within, requiring vigilant protection to maintain its purity and heat. Understand this clearly. Stoic restraint is not weakness, nor is it passivity. It is a cultivated ability to resist the primal, impulsive urge to react, to speak hastily, to correct unnecessarily, to dominate a conversation, to defend your ego at the slightest provocation. It means possessing the strength to sit in profound silence when others seek to provoke you. It means having the clarity to allow someone else to cling to their error, without feeling compelled to correct them simply to assert your own understanding or superiority. That is not cowardice. It is supreme clarity. For the instant you feel compulsive need to prove your Stoic composure, your grasp of virtue, or your indifference to externals, you have already surrendered your inner stability to the judgment of others. That is not power. It is insecurity masquerading as confidence. There is a deep discipline in holding your Stoic truth within, in not requiring the world's applause or understanding to validate its reality. Some truths are meant solely for embodiment, not for proclamation. When you touch a transformative Stoic principle, the fleeting nature of existence, memento mori, the inherent freedom found only within your reasoned choice proherasis, the profound interconnectedness of all things through logos, your initial impulse might be to proclaim it. But Stoic wisdom is not a performance piece. It is a relentless practice. It must first be digested, integrated into your very marrow, and made manifest through your consistent behavior before it gains the substance necessary for meaningful sharing. Consider the analogy of the master martial artist, deeply rooted in their discipline. The most formidable are rarely those boasting of their prowess. They are often calm, observant, seemingly unassuming. Why? Because they no longer feel the need to demonstrate externally what they know internally. Their restraint is not forced. It flows naturally from rigorous training, countless repetitions, humbling failures, and hard-won victories. They embody the understanding that real power lies not in what you display, but in what you consciously, wisely withhold. This principle is central to Stoic inner power. The deeper your Stoic self-knowledge, the less you crave the world's recognition. The more profound your insights into virtue and the human condition, the less you feel compelled to argue or debate merely to win points. You cease needing to dominate conversations. You stop chasing the hollow validation of applause. You become impervious to being underestimated, misjudged, or even mocked. Why? Because you have learned through practice that your inner citadel of virtue and understanding does not require external validation to stand firm. That is authentic Stoic power, silent, anchored, unshakable. But Stoic restraint does more than protect your power. It actively refines and sharpens it. Every time you consciously hold back a reactive word when provoked, every time you choose mindful presence over the ego's demand for performance, every time you conserve your vital energy instead of scattering it in futile explanations, you strengthen your inner warrior. You become more aligned with your principles, more precise in your judgments, more effective in your actions. Instead of diffusing your energy outward in a vain attempt to convince the unprepared, you channel it inward, honing your character, strengthening your resolve, deepening your understanding. With each disciplined act of restraint, your perception sharpens. You begin to discern with startling clarity who is genuinely receptive and who is not, what aligns with your nature and what is mere illusion, where your energy is best invested and where it is wasted. This clarity becomes your unwavering Stoic compass, guiding your actions not by fleeting emotions, but by reason and intention. This is a crucible of transformation. When your life ceases to be a series of reactions to external stimuli and becomes a deliberate, principled expression of your cultivated inner truth. In ancient philosophy, from which Stoicism sprang, restraint was universally recognized as a signifier of inner maturity. It signaled that you had reached a state where your inner peace, apatheia, freedom from destructive passions, and equanimity, euthymia, were non-negotiable. You no longer permitted external circumstances or the actions of others to disturb the tranquil fortress of your reasoned mind. The most potent aspect of this cultivated state, others perceive it. They may not comprehend its source intellectually. They may even feel unsettled or threatened by its quiet intensity, but they feel it, and gradually, almost imperceptibly, they begin to interact with you differently. Not because you demanded deference, but because your disciplined restraint generated an aura of unspoken authority, sparking curiosity about the source of your calm strength. And when they finally approach you, genuinely asking, seeking understanding from a place of openness, you will know they are ready. You won't need forceful arguments or elaborate justifications. You can speak simply, clearly, from the depth of your lived experience. Your words will carry weight and land with impact because you waited, because you respected the sanctity of the wisdom enough to protect it until the soil was fertile, and because you conserve your power, refusing to waste it on premature displays. This is the essence of walking with quiet Stoic power. This is what it means to know the core secret of embodied wisdom, and keep your mouth shut until the moment is ripe. There comes a crucial juncture on the Stoic path where the most potent action is conscious inaction, the disciplined choice of silence, not because you lack insight or conviction, but because you have matured to understand that silence itself is a profound language. When wielded with Stoic intention, it communicates with resonance and authority far exceeding argument, explanation, or defense. Silence is not an absence. It is the palpable presence of hard-won mastery. In the initial flush of Stoic awakening, we often overflow with the desire to articulate every realization, to share every hard-won insight about virtue, control, or the nature of suffering. Like a vessel filled to brim, we feel compelled to pour our understanding into others. But with time and inevitable friction of the world, a deeper understanding emerges. Not every ear is attuned to listen with the depth required. Not every soul is prepared to receive the weight of Stoic clarity. Crucially, not every form deserves the sacred energy of your voice. This is when silence transforms from a default state into a conscious choice, a choice stemming not from fear or uncertainty, but from profound discernment and self-possession. In silence, you encounter your own motives with unflinching honesty. Are you speaking now because you seek validation for your progress? Because your ego demands recognition for its grasp of virtue? Because you feel compelled to be right in the eyes of others? Or are you willing to embrace the quiet, to protect your vital energy, to maintain your inner equilibrium, and to allow others the space to inhabit their own understanding, even when it seems flawed? Silence strips away the comforting noise of justification and explanation. It leaves you alone with the raw, unfiltered reality of your thoughts and intentions. Facing this internal landscape without the distraction of words is where the deepest, most demanding growth in Stoicism occurs. It is a forge where character is truly tempered. There exists an ancient discipline within stillness. While the external world rushes, shouts, reacts, posts, and performs, you cultivate the ability to observe, feel, understand, and learn. You train yourself to listen beyond mere words, to hear the unspoken anxieties, the hidden motivations, the spaces between sentences where truth often resides. In the fertile ground of silence, your perception becomes unerringly acute. You discern patterns of behavior, the masks people wear, the underlying intentions driving actions, subtleties often lost in the din of constant conversation. This heightened awareness is not accidental intuition. It is cultivated sensitivity, built brick by brick through the deliberate practice of inner quiet. Think of the consummate martial artist, embodying Stoic-like discipline. Their power lies not solely in physical prowess, but in their mastery of observation and timing. Watching their opponent, waiting with preternatural calm, grounded in silence. When they act, it is not from reactive haste, but from perfect readiness. The principle applies equally to navigating life with Stoic wisdom. When you master the art of inner silence, you no longer speak merely to fill an awkward void or assert your presence. You speak only when you possess something of genuine value to offer, born of lived principle. And when you choose silence, it is a deliberate exercise of strength, not a lapse into weakness. In relationships, Stoic silence can be a profound act of respect and love. Often, others don't need your solutions or philosophical insights. They need your attentive, non-judgmental presence. Sometimes they don't need to hear your voice. They need the space to hear and understand their own. When you resist the urge to interrupt their processing with your interpretations or advice, you offer them the invaluable gift of self-discovery, trusting their capacity to navigate their path, just as you learn to navigate yours. In confronting personal pain, silence provides a sacred sanctuary. You need not broadcast your struggles to validate their reality. You need not narrate your healing journey for it to be authentic. The deepest healing often unfolds in the quiet crucible of solitude, sitting with your discomfort, your grief, or your anger in stillness, without the distraction of performance or the noise of others' opinions, allows for true integration and strength to emerge. It is where fractured pieces begin to realign not through forced effort, but through the patient space you grant them. In nurturing vision and purpose, silence fiercely protects your Stoic intentions. The more you speak prematurely of your aspirations, your plans to cultivate virtue, or your goals align with your nature, the more you expose them to corrosive elements of external doubt, envy, or unsolicited interference. There is immense power in deliberate, quiet action, in building your character, pursuing your duties, and evolving your understanding without fanfare or explanation. Let the tangible results of your principled life, your evident integrity, resilience, and inner peace be the testament. Let your actions resonate. Keep your deepest intentions guarded within your inner citadel, allowing them to gain strength and depth, nourished by purpose rather than the fleeting fertilizer of external approval. In cultivating patience, the world will constantly test your Stoic resolve. People will provoke, circumstances will challenge, life will present obstacles seemingly designed to trigger a reactive response. In silence, you learn the supreme Stoic virtue of patience. You train yourself to wait, to observe dispassionately, to respond not from a heat of emotion, but from the cool clarity of reasoned judgment. This doesn't imply perpetual passivity. It means your words, when you finally choose to speak, arrive tempered, deliberate, and carrying undeniable weight because they emerge from disciplined stillness. This is the unspoken secret that eludes many. They mistake noise for power, explanation for wisdom, volume for truth. But those who walk the deeper Stoic path understand differently. They know that silence is not emptiness. It is a vessel overflowing with cultivated strength, profound depth, and hard-won insight. It is your boundary, your meditation, your vigilant guardian. Therefore, once you grasp the Stoic truth not merely intellectually, but in your spirit, in your emotions, and through the consistent proof of your actions, resist the overwhelming urge to proclaim it. Instead, let it reside powerful within you. Let it shape your choices, guide your responses, and reshape your habits moment by moment. For the world desperately needs not more noise, but more individuals possessing the courage to remain silent, guarding their inner fire, until a precise moment arrives when their words can truly illuminate. Until that moment, let disciplined silence be your most demanding and rewarding teacher. The path to enduring Stoic wisdom is not paved with eloquent speeches or persuasive debates. It is carved in the bedrock of purposeful silence, forged in the fires of rigorous self-restraint, and walked most often in profound, strengthening solitude of one's own disciplined mind. Once you have truly tasted this understanding, once you have witnessed the transformative depth that silence cultivates, a fundamental shift occurs. You no longer feel the gnawing need to convince the world of your worth, your insights, or your progress. You cease chasing the external validation that once seemed like oxygen. You no longer engage in battles that your spirit, tempered by reason, has consciously outgrown. You simply embody. You become. This becoming unfolds in quiet, unobserved moments, in the pre-dawn stillness when you align your intentions for the day with your principles, in the late-night reflections where you review your actions with gentle honesty, seeking refinement, not self-flagellation, in the disciplined pause before reaction, in the words you consciously withhold, in the victories you carry with quiet dignity, in the pain you endure without demanding an audience. It happens in the cultivation of stillness, the practice of patience, and the unwavering choice to respond from principle, not impulse. There is an undeniable, magnetic power in the individual who has transcended the need for constant noise. That power is unshakable. It is deeply rooted in the understanding that your value and your truth are intrinsic, not contingent on external affirmation or comprehension. It remains steadfast, impervious to the shifting winds of praise or criticism. It simply is, as enduring as a mountain facing a storm, as steady as a flame undisturbed by passing winds. The individual who holds a profound Stoic understanding and consciously chooses disciplined silence is not withholding wisdom from the world. They are honoring its sanctity. They recognize that true insight is earned, paid for the currency of lived experience, endured pain, confronted failures, difficult choices, and above all, persistent, quiet perseverance. The deeper and more transformative the truth, the less appropriate it feels for casual disclosure. Not from secrecy, but from profound respect for its weight, its power to reshape a life, and its demanding nature. You understand that Stoic wisdom is not merely for intellectual discussion. It is a catalyst for fundamental transformation. And before it can authentically transform others, it must first complete its alchemical work within you. So you carry it within the sanctuary of your disciplined mind. You allow it to soften the edges of reactive anger. You let it sharpen the focus of your judgment. You permit it to quiet the clamoring demands of the ego. You allow it to guide your choices like an internal, infallible compass, even when the external terrain is shrouded in confusion. You cease looking outward for confirmation because you have learned to listen intently to profound silence within. And within that silence, profound clarity and unwavering peace reside. This peace is not the fragile result of perfect circumstances. It is a robust tranquility born of relinquishing the futile need to control the uncontrollable. It holds steady when others misunderstand your reserve, doubt your path, or challenge your principles. You no longer engage in battles to prove your point because you recognize your energy, time, and inner state as sacred resources. You do not offer them lightly for consumption or debate. This is the inflection point where life truly begins to transform. Not because the external world magically changes, but because you have undergone a metamorphosis. Your transformation, though cultivated in quiet, becomes unmistakable. You move through the world differently. Your speech carries a new weight. Your decisions arise from a wellspring of intention, not desperation. You allocate your vital energy with discernment and guard your cultivated silence with fierce determination. You refuse to allow meaningless noise to penetrate your inner citadel or let confusion dictate your path. You become grounded in stillness, and in that stillness, you have discovered an unassailable strength. People will sense this transformation before they can articulate it. They may feel inexplicably drawn to your presence, find uncommon weight in your few words, or perceive your calm as a rare haven of safety. Why? Because you have undertaken the demanding inner work most avoid. You have journeyed inward, You have sat in the demanding silence long enough to grasp a fundamental Stoic truth. Not every thought needs voice. Not every insight requires an audience. Some truths are sacred gifts meant solely for your own integration and guidance. Therefore, when a cacophonous world attempts to pull you back into its reactive chaos, tempting you with the lure of applause, the heat of argument, or the fleeting satisfaction of recognition, remember your anchor. You are not here to be the loudest voice. You are here to be clear, anchored in virtue, and authentically real. And sometimes the most authentic, potent action you can take is conscious, disciplined silence. Let the unwavering quality of your life be the irrefutable proof of your understanding. Let your consistent actions resonate with the principles you've internalized. Let your silence teach with a potency your voice alone could never achieve. This is how you cultivate unshakable inner authority without demanding it. This is how you exert genuine influence without applying force. This is how you safeguard your hard-won power and ensure your continuous evolution remains undisturbed. For once you have discovered the core Stoic secret, the liberating power residing solely within your reasoned choice and virtuous action, once you have tasted clarity that cannot be purchased, broken, or borrowed, you'll understand the imperative to guard it. Guard it not from others, but for yourself, so it can continue to illuminate your path, refine your character, and perform its quiet, transformative work within the sanctuary of your being. In a world intoxicated by the sound of its own voice, choose a demanding discipline of deep listening. In a world drowning in relentless noise, choose a courageous path of cultivated stillness. In a world desperate for the spotlight, choose the quiet, relentless journey of becoming. Become so rooted, so authentic, so powerfully present in your embodied Stoic practice that others feel the strength of your being even when you stand in complete silence. That is when you will grasp the profound truth. The deepest secret was never meant for shouting. It was forged for silent, complete, unwavering embodiment. True power isn't shouted. It's lived in the quiet spaces between words. Guard your growth like a sacred seed. Let silence deepen your roots, actions prove your wisdom, and presence speak where words fall short. Fuel your journey daily. Subscribe to Everyday Stoicism. Let ancient whispers armor your modern soul.